Hey, ladies and gents, good news. They finally caught him. Those two people doing the drug deal at the beginning of this year, you know, they've been hunting for him. They finally got him. And when they found those two people doing the drug deal, from That's My Story, you know, the ones you guys gave us an eyewitness for, well, they confiscated some drugs. So we have 4 different baggies of drugs. We've got 5, 6, 8, and 11. But the problem is we need to be able to tell whether those are actually drugs or not. So let's run some controls first to see if we can actually determine whether they are drugs or not. So the controls, because these are all white powders, we grabbed as many of the white powder drugs as we could, and our controls are going to be A, Brogaine, B, Speclate, C, Rotarin, D, Barup, E, Luxonin, F, table salt. Okay, I know table salt is really not a street drug, but maybe you never know. Maybe these two people running the deal were just transporting table salt, you know, inconspicuously. So, to actually tell whether these are drugs, we're going to test them against control responses that we get from those 6. The tests that we're going to run 6 different tests. The first one we're going to do is a stereoscope, which I have set up over there so we can get a zoomed in look at each of those 6 and write some observations about them. We're going to do an acid trial where I'm going to put a sample of them inside of these 6 test tubes and then expose them to an acid and see if we get a reaction. The third one, we have aluminum foil set up here on the hot plate for you guys because we're going to heat them up and we're going to test and see if any of them melt at a low melting point temperature. Talk a little bit about the intermolecular forces. The third one we're going to do is test their solubility with some water. And then after we test the solubility, we're going to add some drops of this sodium carbonate, a basic solution to these to see if maybe these different A through E or A through F have an acidic tendency towards them. And the last one we're going to do is this Lugol solution right here, just to test and see whether we see a reaction with this brown material. If we do see a reaction, it should turn this black or purple color. So without further ado, let's begin. So what's going to happen is I'm going to take a substance like A, and then I'm going to put it on a black placard, and then we're going to run it on the stereoscope. I'm going to make sure that you guys can see. And then I'm going to split material A into these test tubes onto that hot plate, and I'm going to put a bit of it inside of the upper left one of our well plate for that last test. So here is A. And there you can kind of see some of those crystals for A. All right. Make some observations. All right. Now I'm going to put a little bit of this there. And then we're going to go from towards me to towards the camera. So there's A. Upper left is A. And then first one is A. So I'm going to leave the rest of A over here just in case we need more later. Now let's go to B. Okay. So I'm going to take some of B, put it on the black square. Let's take a look at it under the stereoscope. All right. Make some observations. I'm going to slide it over to here too. Make some observations. All right. I'm going to split it up. So the top middle one from my perspective is going to be B. Then I'm going to add some to here. Some to the second well plate in. Some to the second test tube. And then leave the rest of B right there. All right, C. Grab a placard. Add a little bit of this. Stereoscope. Write some observations. Okay. On the hot plate, third test tube, third square or third well, third test tube. Rest of C over here. D. Okay. Grab a square. All right, let's look at it under the stereoscope. Okay. D is going to be second row, left side. Fourth test tube. Fourth well plate. Fourth test tube. Rest of D right there, just in case. Two more. E. Get a square. Put E on the stereoscope. Go ahead, make some observations. Take that. Middle one on this row. Fifth test tube. Bottom left, so this bottom row there. And fifth test tube. Rest of E stays right there. And then F. Okay. F on the stereoscope. Okay. Make some observations. A little bit on this bottom right one. Last test tube. Bottom right one here. And last test tube. Okay, rest of F, which was table salt, or table salt, right there, just in case we need it. Okay, let's start running some other tests. So we got the GoPro going on this. I am just going to turn on the hot plate to 6. And then I'm going to run, this is A. A is right here. A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay, I'm going to pour a little bit of our acid. And here we go. A. Looks like a reaction. B. Nothing. C. Nothing. D. Well, got a little bit of fizzing. E. Nothing. And F. nothing. Okay, so that's those tests. Taking a quick look at the hot plate, it looks like this was A, B, C, D, E, F. It looks like B is starting to melt a little bit. We'll keep an eye on that one. All right. So we're going to do Lugol's last. So this is A. Okay. A, B, C, D, E, F. And this one is see if it is soluble. So here's A. I'm going to thump it. And it looks like there's a little bit left at the bottom here, but for the most part it has dissolved. B. Has dissolved completely. C has made some sort of a white slurry thing, probably not dissolving. D also has made this white slurry thing. E still has some on the bottom here. However, I can see some Solarian lines traveling through it, so it is dissolving. And F is completely gone. Okay, let's look back at our hot plate, and I think we can stop the test now. It looks like B, this one has solidified up again, but it looks like E is starting to turn colors and melt. So I'm actually going to turn this off and get it out of the way so that we can do our last two tests. I'll bring it back when we are working on our unknowns. All right, so A through F, we need to now add some sodium carbonate solution to it, see if there's a reaction with a base. All right, so here we go. I spun it. So this is now A, B, C, D, E, F. So A is over here now. Here's A. Looks like there might maybe a little bit of bubbling, can't tell. Ooh. Looks like a white powder formed inside of that one. Looks like absolutely nothing happened with C. D, looks like nothing happened. E, nothing. F, nothing. So I'm going to drop this in a little slower into A to see if those bubbles were formed by it being a base. And then I'm going to stir it a little bit because I'm not convinced. Nope. So maybe that was, maybe that wasn't. We'll let time be the teller on that one. So the last test that we're going to do before we go to our unknowns is Lugol's. And just so that you can see what we're doing, A, B, C, D, E, and F. Okay, here we go. A, B, C, D, E, F. Record your observations there. Looked like A and D bubbled a little bit. Looked like B turned this purpley black color. And it looked like nothing else really happened for the other ones. All right. So now, on to our unknowns. I'm going to pull the hot plate back. Okay. And then I'm going to get rid of, this is just aluminum. So as long as I grab the corner that I left up, I can grab it safely because aluminum is not the best at keeping heat farther away from the source. Okay. All right. So now I've got 4 different unknowns that I've got to test. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1 to grow on. Okay. So I am going to put my boats, my new boats, on the hot plate. Okay. That's good. And that's good. Okay. So here we go. Here is number, and then I have this. I'm going to move this right to here and move this well plate to here so that the test with acid will be on this side. The test with the base will be on that side. Or solubility and base will be on that side. All right, so number 5. Okay. Stereoscope. Make your observations. 5 on the hot plate. And because the hot plate's still hot, I'm going to keep an eye on it while we're going. But then 5, I'm going to put in this first one. First test tube, and then upper left-hand corner. All right, so that's 5. 6. Okay, let's take a look under the stereoscope. All right, make your observations. 6 is going to be in the upper right-hand corner here. And I'm going to put it in the second test tube in the line on the left and the right-hand side. And then I'm going to put it in the upper right-hand corner. All right, there's 6. 8 and 11 are the next 2 that we have. 8 is right here. Okay, let's take a look under the stereoscope. There's 8. Okay. Put 8 right there. Bottom left corner of that. 8 in the third test tube. The third test tube. And the bottom left corner of that. Okay. And now 11. Okay. All right. 11 under the stereoscope. Okay. 11 on the hot plate. 11 in the last test tube. The last test tube. And bottom right of there. Okay. Kick the hot plate on again. See what happens with those after a little bit of time. But while we're waiting on that, we might as well test acid reaction. So A, B, 5, 6, 8, and 11. And I'm going to do this by holding it up to the camera, though, so that you don't make a mistake about which is which. Here's 5. Here's 6. Here's 8. And here is 11. 11 definitely bubbled up. The other one's not so much. Okay. Same thing for solubility while we're waiting on our hot plate. Ready? This is 5. Almost completely gone. This is 6. We got some Solarian lines up here. It is dissolving, just not as well as 5, but maybe I put more in there. This is 8. We got that weird milky white mixture from solubility, and then 11. Seems to be dissolving excellently. Okay. Next test, sodium bicarbonate, the base. So this is 5. Nothing. Here is 6. Nothing. Here is 8. Nothing. And then here is 11. Nothing. Okay, so there's the sodium bicarb solubility tests as well as the acid test. Okay, take a look at our hot plate and you'll notice that 5, nothing has happened. 6 is starting to turn that brown color. 8, nothing is happening. And 11, nothing is happening. So I'm going to turn the hot plate off and move it out of the way so that we can do the Lugol's test. And then you guys can tell me if any of these substances match any of the illicit drugs. All right. So here we go. 5, 6, 8, 11. All right. Here goes 5, 6, 8, and 11. All right. So ladies and gents, you've got your controls. You've got all the tests run on the 4 unknown numbers. You tell me if there were some drugs that were there.